All right, welcome back to another episode of the CSE's podcast with a special focus on the Summit on Responsible Investment. I'm your host, James Black, and today I am thrilled to be joined by Neil Wiens, the CEO and CTO of Replenish Nutrients Holding Corp, which is a company publicly trading and listed on the CSE under the symbol ERTH. Neil, thanks so much for joining us today from, where are you?
Diamond Valley, Alberta.
Okay, and so put that on a map for me. I don't know where Diamond Valley is.
It's southwest of Calgary.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to jump right into the discussion today and just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and Replenish. I've looked at your bio online. You've obviously got a long track record as an entrepreneur, but now talking about Replenish and talking about it within the context of the Summit on Responsible Investment and Sustainability, this seems like a tailor-made company for this year's event. So tell us a bit more about yourself and your company.
So Replenish Nutrients is a biologically driven commercial fertilizer, liberating our mineral nutrients from the soil through biology. So the sustainability part of what we're trying to accomplish or do accomplish is the fact that once our fertilizer has been applied, it's a right time, right place, right release rate for the plants and really gives a high nutrition value to those plants because it's a full-on package of nutrients, not just one or two things. It is not just the meat and potatoes. It is actually the meat, potatoes, fruits, veggies, and everything all in one nice little granule. And so what ends up being sustainable and really on our side is the regenerative side of it all is not only are we sustainable, but we get the land better. So we're feeding the biology in the soil, which then in turn feeds the plant and gives you healthy food. So hopefully most of us don't have to take a bunch of vitamins after we're done eating our stuff.
That's a great jump off point because I guess my question is when I think about, why did you start this company and why are you so passionate about it? There's obviously a problem in the market that you're solving. You mentioned land replenishment, but there's lots of products out there that are fertilizers. So what exactly is it that isn't in the current marketplace that if I go and buy Scott's or whatever and throw it on a lawn or, I guess in an industrial sense on a farm field, that isn't being met with the product with the products in the market now that you're now came out with a solution to? What is it that you're really competing with?
Well, we're competing against with chemical fertilizer, which typically is a acid-base reaction, which in a real quick chemistry 101 land creates a salt. And so that's been, of course, is water soluble and it's 100% based on chemistry. And basically that's been your fertilizer source for the last 70, 80 years in the market. What we've done is I've taken a little bit, or our company's taken a different approach by actually looking at it as the biological side of it all is if you take a look at the top 6 inches of soil, it really is your world's largest feedlot. You got trillions and trillions of microbes in there. And if you feed it a balanced diet, unlike you would feed yourself or an animal or your pet, everything else kind of follows in suit. So that is the major difference in what we're doing is I'm actually focusing because I have an animal nutrition background. I'm an animal nutritionist by trade. I really do look at the art of agronomy at how do I feed that top 6 inches versus how do I feed the plant? And that's really a difference.
Yeah, it's an ecosystem. And I wish I took chemistry before these interviews, to be honest, because there's so much to it. But, I look and I get intimidated when I just see those 3 digits on a bag of fertilizer at Home Depot and go, is this going to fix my lawn or not? And I'm not thinking about the broader issue of, I feed my lawn, but then you're going to have a bird come to my lawn and try to eat something off of it. And then something's going to eat that bird. I mean, it's the whole cycle, right? And am I doing damage to my ecosystem by putting some of these chemical fertilizers on the lawn that maybe I don't see the impact today, but maybe down the road, it could have a tremendous impact on the ecology of where I live in my community. So, that replenishment of the land concept, I think is really key. And is there something in aggregate or in a macro sense, Neil, that you see with today's farming standards or today's livestock standards where we are maybe on a path to, I don't want to say destruction, but unsustainability if we continue the existing product applications and the existing practices in place, today and of yesterday?
The whole thing is, I'll preface this by saying that every farmer is actually trying to do his best on what he knows best, or
Mm,
she. And, we're not trying to destroy the land or trying to destroy people or anything else like that. So, I mean, our goal as a farming community is to physically still be the stewards of the land. And, that is the thing. Biggest problem that we have in the existing infrastructure is Canada in particular has this little problem where we only have 4 months of summer. And so, we got one shot at it every year. And so guys like myself will come along with a whole different type of concept. And of course, would you rather go with what I've been doing for the last 50 to 70 years and still making a living and everything goes? Or would I be trying to figure out how to actually play the concept of what this crazy Neil Wiens guy is telling me? So I guess that's a long way of saying I don't think we're on a path to destruction, but I do think that we need to change what we're doing as far as, the way we're actually spraying chemical, the way we're using fungicides. I think you got to start to understand the difference on making sure that we use it in a sense of use it when it's required, not use it as a maintenance ration. I think, for lack of
yeah.
a better term. So, yeah, I mean, there's your difference. And what's been really unique about our company is I realized that I can't just bring people off cold turkey to what they've been doing. So we ensure that our product actually plays nice with the chemical fertilizers. The chemical fertilizers we can blend with our product, and it doesn't kill my microbial populations, but it'll enhance what they're doing already. And so we can wean everybody off. They can understand that this animal nutritionist actually does make some sense. And as we go, when we see it all the time, as our clients get more and more used to what the product is, and ultimately change their whole farm over.
Yeah, and talk to me about that client profile. So, who have the early adopters been, or the customers that have jumped aboard your, I didn't sound crazy to me, but to your story and to your product.
Yeah, ultimately, it's the folks who just understand that what we've been doing. I mean, almost everybody in the fertilizer or in the farming industry has seen that we're adding more and more fungicides. We're doing
Mm.
more pesticides. We're doing this, and we're not basically deciding that we're crazy about this thing. But we do understand that there's got to be something wrong if we're always having to change our chemistry every couple of years on this. And so the guys who are adopting is really kind of my next generation farmers. A lot of the colonies in the area, because of course they're looking at long lead stewards of the land for the next 100, 200 years. So they're physically looking at how do I actually create soil health. We see it, we feel it, we know it that we're probably not having the healthiest soil. And a lot of my customers are just large farmers that are changing their habits and going, yeah, I need to do something about not having to spray every time I go across the field.
When you're talking to these prospective customers, what are you dealing with as far as objections, or I guess embedded opinions as to how what they need? So obviously, there's always a sell required to try to get more customers into a product, and the solution that you're talking seems great. But what are some of the objections maybe that you have to keep working toward tearing down to get more customers to adopt?
Well, I mean, if I take a look at it, because I love my props, and it's kind of the way my world works. But if you sit there, and the biggest objection that exists is one of my ingredients happens to be elemental sulfur, which is this nice little yellow nugget. As
Mm,
its own, it is completely useless to the plant. So everybody knows that, agronomy knows that, and so they go, Neil, why do you use that stuff? There's number one.
mm,
Number two is I have this chunk of rock phosphate. Same thing. It's completely useless to the plant as it sits. And so I have that same objection saying, hey, you know what? Everybody says rock phosphate, elemental sulfur are not going to be ever available to a plant. Why are you forcing this on me? And that is my biggest objection. And ultimately, the way we get around, well, not around that, but you just start explaining the biology that starts to drive, which is what we're doing, and liberate these nutrients out of those chunks of inert rocks. And that's how we have to get through it. And as time goes on, I mean, we're 7 years into this thing now. So as time goes on, of course, the efficacy of what we've been doing is out there. We're covering over 400,000 acres of land a year, so it's not just doing somebody's backyard. So it's been growing crops, and it's been growing crops well. So those are main objectives. But it really is coffee shop is your king, man. If you can get into the coffee shops, then life is pretty good.
Yeah, maybe that's not a bad sales tactic. The just the profile then geographically. So we mentioned Canada and its limited growing season. Is this a product that travels well? Like, can you get it into southern markets like the southern US or even Mexico or elsewhere where, we're obviously buying still a lot of Mexican products here in Canada. I'm not sure what the future holds for US Canada trade, but definitely, getting this into the hands of those growing south of the border.
Yeah, we've done trials all the way through. I mean, we send product into the Pacific Northwest. We've sent product down into California. Done a variety of trials in India, some in Egypt. So does it travel well? 100%. And really, we did that on the premise of, are my same microbes that I'm using here, are they going to cause chaos or play nice in the sandbox? As the same guys down in Mexico, as you mentioned, and it's been translating exceptionally well, depending, basically everywhere on the globe that we've gone. It's done the same reaction, which excites me like crazy, on the fact that I'm not having to try and come up with a whole new biological footprint every time I go to a different market.
Right. And we mentioned soil quality, but is there a crop or a type of crop that is more responsive to this product? Or does it matter even? Was that even the right question?
Well, no, that's the right question, because a lot of people think we're specific. In our case, we've gone on every cash crop out there, I think, probably missing a few. I don't think I've done almonds. But at the same side, really, we react exceptionally well to haylands, products that need a slower release throughout their whole life cycle. The berry market, we've been doing lots in the berry market and the vegetable side of it all. But my bread and butter, as we've been doing, is your wheat and canola in Western Canada. So it's but it's been working on all crops.
Okay. And I'm always afforded one dumb question every interview. If I haven't asked one already, I'll ask one now. Does this at all play into organic farming, or is that totally a different world that doesn't interact with this product and fertilizers? Obviously there's stuff you can't use to consider yourself organic.
Yeah, we're actually certified organic, so we're ARMR listed. So not only can, and that's the other thing. I mean, as a marketing side of it all, you can go into the organic market, which then everybody thinks you're a little crazy anyways, which I probably am. But on the side of it all is it's still the commercial market that people then really start to understand, well, holy cow, you can actually cross-reference and go into the commercial fertilizer side of this all and still be certified organic. I think that's what's blowing some folks' minds, as they're going, hey, we physically are regenerative out there.
Why is the organic market considered crazy? And this is obviously coming from your perspective as a farmer. What's so crazy about it?
Well, I think what it is we've, as a farmer perspective, as the commercial guy, you generally saw the guy with the longer hair and, of course, your Sanooks or whatever sandals on, and he was the guy that was the organic guy, right? And so stereotyped so physically, farmers have always stereotyped the organic guy as being the crazy guy in the corner that just didn't want to spend money on fertilizer. And, ultimately that's shifted over the years, but it's still, that's still your coffee shop. And so when you lump yourself into it, even as a marketer on that, you have to be a little bit careful, because as much as I still kind of consider myself a progressive hippie, because I do actually want to make money. It's one of those scenarios where, I'll still go hug the tree, but I gotta be able to still grow it.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the very definition, Neil, of sustainability, and why we, as a stock exchange, are hosting a conference on what we call responsible investment. We're trying to marry the two worlds of profitability, capitalism, but also building a future for our children in a world that's more sustainable and promoting resource efficient processes like yours. So, yeah, I have no problem with it, and I'm a consumer both organic and non. I mean, they're both going to exist for a long time, I'm sure. Last question, so it's the what's next proposition. So what exactly do you want people to look out forward to? Maybe some milestones or projects you're currently working on that you're excited to talk about today?
Yeah, so the milestones over the past year and a half, we've completed our patents and our process and everything else. So we've gone from a pre-commercialization phase to a commercialization phase. We've announced the fact that we got all the funding that we did for our Bicycle facility, which then moves us into over 24,000 tons of volume for the next year. And that's really the main thing to look out for initially, because like you say, I'm in the public market. I can't really go much further than that. But things to look at is making sure that we're actually producing well, because that gives us cash flow positive. We move from being this crazy group in the back 40 that's developed this great biological driven fertilizer to an actual real group that's making money and expanding.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, look, it's been a real pleasure learning more about the business today and getting to meet you, Neil. And I'm obviously thrilled to be sharing this content as part of CSE Summit on Responsible Investment. Anywhere you want to direct people to learn more about your company or the product?
Yeah, I mean, go on to replenishnutrients.com for the number one. And if you're someone who plays in your backyard with the lawn and garden side, just go to replenish1.net. And we do have a lawn and garden brand that is starting to make its way out there.
Awesome. I am looking at my lawn right now and definitely need your product. So I will, I'll be going there with everyone else that watches this. So once again, I'm James Black. This was the CSE podcast, a special production of the Summit on Responsible Investment. This summit is actually occurring in Kelowna on June 5th. If you're watching after the fact, just note that this is part of the playlist that'll exist forever, whether you're watching on YouTube or social media. Thanks again, Neil, and really appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Appreciate your time.